Hello there, my name's Vince from My Mate Vince, and in this video today we're going to be looking at a Game Boy Color. It was sent in by a viewer named Tom, and it says here, torn capacitor pad. So thanks very much for sending this over, Tom. What happens is, I've got a game in and batteries in. It does turn on, but it doesn't look to be colour. It's got slightly weird lines on the screen, and it doesn't load any games. So look, and it's not the cartridge. I've tried another cartridge. It's not clear. And nothing's happening, while this is what it should do. See there, it's much clearer, it's in colour, might not come across on the screen, and then the game starts straight away. So let's have a look at this torn capacitor pad. Maybe it is pretty serious. So these are lovely and easy to get into, 6 little tri-wing screws, no glue, no clips, lovely to work on. Oh, here. Right, okay. Would that stop it from working though? Let's take it apart a bit more just to see if there's any corrosion anyway. So 3 more screws to get undone, but these ones are just normal Phillips screws, crosshead screws, and we have a nice big ribbon cable up the top. You just need to lift the latches on both sides of the ribbon cable, and then the ribbon cable for the screen will pop out nice and easy. Right, I mean, there does seem to be some weird staining going on the board, but I don't know if that's from factory or some kind of weird flux. I say it might be from the factory because we do have staining around these solder points here from this little board. Let's give it a clean with some IPA, and I'm also going to clean up inside here as well in case there's corrosion on the pins and it's stopping it from reading the game. So I'm using 99.9% isopropyl alcohol. It only came into my life when I started these videos 4 odd years ago, and now I will never, ever, ever be without it. From this day forward, I will always have some isopropyl alcohol waiting to be used in the house somewhere, because it's not just good on electronic circuit boards, it does a variety of different things. And if any of you are following my Rolls Royce video, I think I'm going to try some of that on the weird green stain on the carpet that gives me forever bubbles and suds. So yeah, that will be in an upcoming episode. Right, the board looks lovely. So I need to find out what capacitor is supposed to go there. Let's take apart the good one over here, and hopefully it will have the same circuit board in. It says here 1998 Nintendo. And yeah, I mean, maybe if it's one of the main power ones, maybe there's not enough clean voltage getting somewhere and one of the chips is not happy. Obviously we have to follow where it goes to, because the it's been completely ripped off, so I think we're going to have to run it through the board to a via on the other side. Well, it's not exactly the same. This is CPU 04, this is CPU 05. Right, looking at the capacitors, they do look different, but this one says 104S, this says 106S. This one says 106S, that says 106 volts, so maybe 6S is the same as voltage. This one up here says 22 and then 16S. So would it be 22 microfarads, 16 volts? Possibly. I say it probably is, but I'm just going to look up C35 on Google to see if it brings anything up. So I'll do C35 Game Boy Color. Okay, on Google, this is the first post, and it's the same as this one here. I got a used Game Boy Color today, and whoever had it last ripped both pads off on C35, but the console seems to work fine. Uh-oh! I thought it might supposed to work even without it. Any idea what C35 is for? And then it says here, it's sound, 22 microfarads, 16 volts. So that's what we thought, isn't it? 22 microfarads, 16, so 16S must mean 16 volts. But it says, likely because it's for audio filtering, you might hear more noise since it's missing. But then somebody else reckons it's this LCD driver voltage regulator, hence the 16 volts. So, yeah. Okay, let's try to pop one of those in. Right, I've got these surface mount. These are still electrolytic capacitors, they're just surface mount. I've got these, but annoyingly I haven't got 22 microfarad. I've got 33 and 10. Not bothered about the voltage because I could be higher on that. But yeah, I haven't got 22, but I have got it on the through-hole ones. See, 22 microfarad, 16 volts. So I think I'm just gonna, I mean, is there anything that's gonna foul here? It needs to be here. There should be enough room. I mean, that's not that much bigger than this. I can lay it on its side. So I think I'm going to put one of these on instead, because at least then it's going to be the correct capacitance. Let's zoom in and see what's what. So we can see from the one below it that this is the negative here and this is the positive. And look at the way they've done it on the board. This is like a square edge, and then it bevels in here and here on the positive. And if we look over here, same thing, square edge, bevel, bevel. So we know the bevel side is the positive, and also it helpfully lists it there with a positive. So we know that this is the positive side. So when it comes to the negative side, it's just going to be, you know, on, I should be able to just scrape it here, should I not? Oh no, that's travelling down from here, okay. Yeah, that is travelling down from here. Yeah, so that's going there, and there would have been a pad all along here. Right, well I'll be able to do something with that. I've got a via here and a via there. So there's this one. Yeah, it's this one here. So now, does it actually fit through? Yes, it does. Fine. Well, I'll just stick the positive through there, and I'll sort out the negative. So we're going to put that there. That's going to go there. I'm going to solder that up the other side, and then I'm going to just bring this leg up. I'm going to solder it onto here and put some, let's get rid of that for a minute, and then put some UV mask on it. So I'm feeling pretty pleased with myself at this stage in the video. How often can a capacitor leg fit through a via? Come on, that's something special there. Normally they're way too small. And as well as that, I can physically see where the negative pad goes to. So we know the positive pad goes down to the via, and we can see the negative pad hanging down on a little bit of a track there. So all we have to do is solder up both sides of the capacitor. And as far as the capacitor is concerned, I'm thinking it's going to be job done. There's going to be other faults on this, because why does the screen not work? It looks like it needs a new screen, but the rip trace looks like it's going to be an easy fix. Or is it? Have some of you spotted what I may or may not have done incorrectly? Right, so obviously that track's going to be quite fragile, so that's why I'm going to add solder masks to it to hopefully strengthen it up. So I don't think this capacitor is going to fix it. I think what may fix it is cleaning here, or maybe it needs a new screen, or maybe there's some other fault with it. Right, so I've just added a little bit of UV mask just to this area here. I've covered the track and also the leg of the capacitor. So I'm just going to balance this somewhere and let that light shine on it for 5 minutes. And while we're waiting for that solder mask to dry, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay. So you've made your dream electronics project on a breadboard, and you want some high quality printed circuit boards, then look no further than PCBWay. They've got over a decade experience in the PCB industry. They have state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities, and they use the latest technology to produce high quality PCBs that meet your specifications. At PCBWay, they have a range of services including PCB prototyping, PCB assembly, flexible PCBs, high density PCBs, CNC machining and 3D printing. So I'd like to thank PCBWay for sponsoring the My Mate Vince channel, and if you're looking for reliable printed circuit boards, then check them out in the link in the description down below. Now let's see if that solder mask is nice and dry. Spider's still growing. He's getting bigger by the day. It's absolutely massive for a UK spider, that. Look at it, isn't it lovely? Well, that's debatable, but he's big. Right, so that's all gone hard now. So let's put it back together and see if it behaves any differently. No, it doesn't. And it's just not coming up with the correct colour either, look. That's just volume, isn't it? Yeah. So we haven't got contrast on this, because I suppose the whole point is it's a colour screen. And it's got lines everywhere. Right, well, why are you not loading up? So it looks like there's a few issues with this. Oh, here we go. It loaded up that time. There we go. Right, interesting. Yeah, why is it suddenly loading up now? It's hard to make out what's going on though. So it looks like the games are working intermittently, but they're often not working. It just seems so random. So maybe the game card slot actually needs cleaning. Maybe there's some corrosion or dirt down there. So let's see if we can give it a clean. Well, I don't think I've got any sandpaper in the house because I think it's in the car. But I need to really get something down here to give them a little bit of a rub. I think it's a pin problem and a screen problem. So ideally I'd like to use a bit of sandpaper, a bit of wet and dry on this, but I haven't got any here. So what I'm using is some kitchen foil on some cardboard. My idea is that kitchen foil doesn't really scratch up metal because it's a lot softer than the metal, yet it can remove rust stains. So by rubbing it across it, I'm wondering if there was any tarnishing on the pins that this might kind of clean it up. And yeah, then I need to put it all back together and we'll give it another test, see if it starts reading the games properly now. Amazingly, that capacitor actually fits in there. So yeah, it's not that much different than the other ones. They go into these sections up here. No, still not working. What? I hate intermittent faults. That's interesting. Look at that one. What's that about? Weird. Right, what I'm going to do is, to begin with, because I'm battling against a few things here really, aren't I? I think I'm going to take the screen, I'm just going to put this motherboard in here just to make sure that the motherboard is making the screen work okay, because we know that this screen is not okay, but just to definitely prove that it isn't the motherboard causing the screen to go funny. Right, so this is the good motherboard with the bad screen. Let's see if it's still faulty. Wow. Oh my word, how good is that? It's not the screen. Now this has just got a whole lot more interesting. It's not the screen that's faulty. Look at that, as clear as could be. What? I was not expecting that at all. Oh, okay. Now, faulty motherboard with the good screen. No way. Yeah, we should have the lines. Wow, so it's something on the board causing a bad display. So that might be related to why it's not working. Fantastic. Now, how are we going to fault find this one? I suppose I'm going to need both boards. See if I can see any differences. Oh, how good is that? Got to admit, that's become a lot more interesting now, hasn't it? Everybody would have thought that was the screen. So, bad board, good board. We know the bad board because of my capacitor on here. Let's zoom right in and see what we can see. So what follows is probably about 1 hour of fault finding. Let me just talk you through it. To begin with, the caps on the faulty board seem a little loose, so I'm wondering if it's had a recap. I'm not too sure, or were they just taken off to test, but they're definitely not down flush on the board. Also, the variable resistor is giving me a slightly different reading between the two boards. There's 3 points on it, and it's like the wiper one side, and then there's 2 contacts on the other side, and it's giving me a little bit of a different reading, but not too bad. I do actually try to adjust that to make it the same as the working board, and it makes no difference at all, so I don't think that's the problem. Then I turn my attention to the little screen connector up the top, and it does seem a little bit bananaed out, so I push that in to make it nice and straight, but that still doesn't make any difference, because I was thinking maybe there's some pins on the board that's not making a good connection, but I don't think it's that. Now I do change the capacitors out just in case it is a capacitor related problem, but that doesn't make a difference anyway. So then luckily, because I have a known working board, it makes it so much easier. It always does with fault finding, well for me anyway. Maybe if you knew how to use a oscilloscope inside out, you'd be able to do this board in its own right if you understood about signals and stuff. But for me, what I do understand is looking at the difference between a working board and a faulty board. So I put my multimeter in diode test, and then I put the red lead to a ground, in other words the negative of the battery terminal, and then I use the black lead on all the different points on the board, and I keep doing that between the good board and the bad board, the good board and the bad board. Obviously I can only remember so many numbers at once, so I maybe do 4 points on a chip and then do 4 points on the bad board on the same chip, and then I might do 3 or 4 test points on the good board and 3 or 4 test points on the bad board, and they're all exactly the same. I go across the cartridge slot and every single pin is reading near enough the same. You're going to get slight differences, but nearly identical, until I get to this next point in the video. So let me start playing in real time from now. Ah, look at this. You know the capacitor I did earlier? Look here. It's not getting here compared to this one. Can you see that? 0.65, yeah. Here, nothing. But yet, what's going on there? Because we're getting through the board, and I soldered it up to the holes. See, it looks like just a wire on its own, but this isn't going to be a multi-layer board. So this is just a ground around here, isn't it? This is all the ground, because I'm down against the battery here. So this is like a wire on its own, which means it has to be connected on this side somewhere. But where? Because it was just going to a wire underneath there. It must be travelling somewhere else. Let's look on a good board. I think I'm going to take off this capacitor. It's very hard when the board's painted to see what goes where. Right, so negative. There. Not there. Not there. Not there. Okay, so that just goes to there. This one. No. No. Just here. Must be going elsewhere that I can't see. Where's that line going to there? Oh no, that's just separating both of them, isn't it? So hard to see. So that's the trace going up there. This is all ground. That's all ground here. That goes to here. How does that even get to here? That travels along here, doesn't it? Oh, okay. So you can see that clearly goes from here up to here and then carries on the track that we seen earlier on. So now this one, this one goes up this way. So if I scrape this here, we should see copper. Right, so now this is going to be ground on the outer one, I think. Right, so that's ground there. So this one must be that one there. It is. Ah, right, okay. So it must be just a test point on the other side. On the faulty board, that isn't going to where it needs to go. So we need to find where this thing comes up. I thought it would, oh yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but yeah, it goes up here and it goes up through here. So the other ones came up here on these little things here. There. Where's this one coming up? Here. There. Right, okay. So that one there should be coming up on the test point on the other side then. Which it is. But on this board here, it's not going to, is it? So we're on here. Nah, it's not coming up there. Right, okay. Let's zoom in, see what's going on. So, power is either not coming from here or not getting to here. That one there. This one here goes down. It must be this side of the capacitor and then goes through here to here. Why are you not getting there? It's annoying now because I've got all this UV mask everywhere. Let's see if I can scrape it here. Right, it came off very nice. Okay, let's forget about the capacitor. So we know that's the negative going up there still. It's this one here. Ah, so it's not getting, oh, okay. The, yeah, of course. The positive's not getting to here because I've just connected it onto the other side. Let's see if it's getting from here up to the little voltage regulator thing. So it should be getting to here. Yes, it is. Right, okay.
Right, it all makes complete sense now. When I asked earlier on in the video, have I done it correct or not, a few of you would have realised that what I in fact did was connect straight to a test point. But that test point wasn't then going on feeding anywhere else. In my defence, it's very hard to see on this board because it's all painted white, quite thickly as well, so you can't really see the tracks and traces like you can on other boards, hence the reason why I've been doing so much scratching on the board to try to see what's going on. So basically, I thought at the time it was going like to a test point and going on somewhere on the other side of the board, but it wasn't. It was just going to a test point and nowhere else. So that test point is there purely to make it easier to test, to do your fault finding and stuff, you know, when the board's been designed. So they put those there so you can, in the future, test it. And I wonder as well, could it be part of the manufacturing process? Hopefully I'm going to see this when I go to PCB Way Factory. But they have these little probes that whiz around the board and test for continuity. So maybe it's to aid the manufacturing process to make sure that the board is actually okay by the machine quickly checking for continuity on hundreds of points around the board. And it is super quick. Can't wait to see that part of the process. But yeah, so it was just going to test point and nowhere else. So that capacitor wasn't doing anything. It was just flapping around in the wind, essentially. So obviously it was being fed from the side that the capacitor was on, and it's being fed from those little, I don't know, I'm going to call them voltage regulators above the cartridge slots. So yeah, very important that it is connected. Strange thing here is, though, that all the other capacitors on the board, well, not all, but those big ones anyway, the negative of them are linked to the negative power rail. So for example, if you go onto the battery minus, the negative, then they will beep on continuity on the negative of the capacitors. But this one here doesn't. This negative is completely independent of the ground of the board. So I don't really understand what this capacitor's doing, because often a capacitor will be one leg to ground. I'm just wondering, is it kind of blocking AC or something. I don't really understand because it's not on the actual negative rail, so I don't know what this capacitor is doing. But if you could pop it down into the comments, it would be helpful, because I'm slightly confused why it's just not linked to the ground of the board. I presume it's because it's not doing filtering, it's doing some other, well, maybe it's doing filtering and it's not doing power. Maybe it's not smooth. Do you know what it is? Maybe it's not smoothing out a power rail. Maybe it's smoothing out, maybe it's filtering. Would it be filtering out AC or something? Would that be what it's for? I don't know. If you could put it in the comment section, I'll be grateful. So what you're seeing here is me temporarily soldering the capacitor in, and I'm not worried about connecting up the test points on the other side. I'm purely connecting both legs of the capacitor on the two traces that go up to feed those weird voltage regulator things above the cartridge slot. So I'm going to be using my bench power supply so I don't have to put it all back together. Let's see now, if we pump 3 volts into it, is this thing going to come alive?
Okay. Right, here we go. Wow, look at that. As clear could be. No way. Check that out.
How good is that? You would have never suspected the screen wasn't at fault. If I only had the one Game Boy Color here, I would have gone out and bought another screen. But now we know that that capacitor there, if it's not in circuit, produces the results of a black and white screen, and also like lines going either side of the display as well. So I presume if there was corrosion there that eating through the trace is going to create the same thing, or maybe if that capacitor had failed, it's going to create the same thing. So really useful to know. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting back in the capacitor, but doing it neatly because I just kind of threw it in for the testing. And because the traces are quite small and the capacitor is quite big, if you were to drop this, maybe the capacitor could shear through the trace. So I'm putting a load of hot glue on the base of the capacitor to sit it in, and that way then if this Game Boy is dropped, then at least it's still going to work. So that's what I'm just doing now, and I'm just going to show you the final result.
Right, so this is it here now, and you can see it's completely sat down in a load of hot glue, so there's no reason why that should break now. You can see the legs soldered to there and the legs soldered to there. The two ones are no longer going down the other side, because remember on this one here now, on the good one, they go to here, but they are only for testing. So obviously you won't be able to test it now on the one that I've just been messing with, but apart from testing it there, it should now work because it's travelling down here and travelling back up again. One from that one to this one here. Right, I'm going to pop the capacitor back on here and then put them both back together.
Now you would think that it would be the end of the video now, but no, of course not. It's a My Mate Vince video. Of course it's not the end.
Right, here goes. Game in. Nintendo logo there. Colour. What? Don't do this to me. No, it's not loading that one either. Oh, what?
So it's not playing the games again. But look, that's nothing to do with that capacitor. What it is there must be something on that game cartridge slot which isn't quite right. And it's making contact sometimes and not other times. So let's give it a nice, good close-up look and see if we can spot what that is.
Right, I can see, and it is on that side there, that pin might be slightly in. So maybe it's just a pin problem. If you have a look here. See this one at the very edge? This one, is it slightly more in than the one next to it is, isn't it? Right, let's see if I can get a little needle and pop them out. So hard because you need light shining in there. Is this going to work? No, it's too big. How am I going to pop these out? Now, you see I've done that too far. I've taken, oh no, I've taken it out completely. Right, if I, doesn't help as well because it doesn't focus. Let's see if I can bend it a bit and then try to get it back in. Let's try to use the tiny tweezers. And whilst I'm struggling to get that back in, let's give a shout out to the legends that are the My Mate Vince Massive. The members this month are kitsdigital.com, Kip Hakes, Max Rokatansky, Having Fun Repairs, Chris Seal, Felipe at MrKeeps.com, DJ VG, Pigsy, Robert from Timsy's Auto Air, Daniel Watson, Anthony Dean, Bazza2, Ross Melanson, Gaspar Heller, Rickard Bergland, Jacob Colpin, Matt Rawlins, Soul Reaver 555 and Angry Al Tech. Massive thank you to each and every one of you and everybody that shows their support over on Patreon and as well by commenting and watching my videos. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I wonder now, would that work? Let's see. Good news is the screen is consistently working now anyway, so that's one good thing. Yes. Worked. Right, could be coincidence. Let's try it again. Come on. Yes. Getting my hopes up now. I am getting my hopes up. I don't think I've ever had it 3 times in a row. Let's put the on and off switch back in. Looks like it was that pin. Come on, come on, come on. Oh my, my. Yes! Results every single time. Come on. Oh, you beauty. It was that pin, wasn't it? I'll just do that one, and then I think we can say it's fixed. Brilliant. How nice does that screen look? No, sorry, not how nice. How nice does it look compared to what it looked like earlier? The screen doesn't look nice. You beauty. Wow.
Right, at long last we are done. This is some Game Boy Gallery thing. So look at this ball. This is one of those little Game & Watch games, isn't it? Or a copy of it. I don't know if it's an actual official cartridge or not. I think it is. So yeah, there we have it. It's all working fine. I made a bit of a meal of this one when I didn't need to. I mean, I was already told that the capacitor pad had gone. And yeah, I ended up connecting it to the wire, which was completely wrong. As well as that, what was kind of throwing me was the fact that the game would work sometimes and not other times. So sometimes when you have more than one fault, it can be a little bit confusing. So yeah, at least I know for next time now that if the screen's ever behaving like it was, it's hopefully going to be related to that capacitor or something on that circuit feeding that capacitor. Look at the skill there. So yeah, that is it for this video. Massive thanks to Tom. I enjoyed this one because it was nice to do something on a bit of old tech, you know, nice and easy to get into and stuff. And I thought it was quite interesting, especially the way that I eventually worked out where the capacitor was being fed from. And then when the screen come to life, I really enjoyed that because, like I said earlier in the video, I would have thought that that would have been a screen issue, but it wasn't. It was the board issue causing the issue with the screen. So I thought that was interesting. Oh no. Anyway, if you enjoyed it, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you all very soon. Thank you so much for watching.